Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 18th edition of the Bus Drivers Are Out podcast with your host, me, Brian Cohen. So Rivals 2 is now officially in the books. Let me send out a congratulations to the winning teams, CT and Wes, and Emily and Paula. I think I agree with what Johnny Banana said at the end of the episode, that these were the two most deserving teams, so it's good to see them get the title. Now, I will be able to break down the entire finale and the reunion show, plus a little bit more of the season as well, with one of those winners, Wes. We will talk about just how grueling this final was, how compared to some of the things he had to do in the past, his dynamic with CT, and some of the other big storylines throughout the season. So before I get to that, let me just remind you all to follow me on Twitter at BusDriversAreOut, go to BusDriversAreOut.com, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so when I post these interviews, they'll be sent directly to you. All right, now let me get to the champion of Rivals 2. Here is Wes. All right, so let me just first say congratulations, Rivals 2 champions.
Yeah, thank you.
I was kind of hoping there'd be some type of ring ceremony at the reunion, but nothing really special about you.
You know, they had a lot on their plate at their live reunion, so I didn't really need much.
Yeah, that's for sure. We'll get to the reunion in a bit, but I just wanted to ask you, what do you think was a more satisfying win, this one or your victory in the duel?
The duel was a lot more satisfying. I mean, you know, because you just get to give all the credit to yourself. In this one, my partner, he was just such a bulk of the reason why we won. I mean, I definitely played my part, but he was the leader of our team, and so you know, it's great to win, but I have to give him most of the credit.
Yeah, I mean, you've done these with CT for a while, so do you think he was most determined and most motivated to win this one than ever before?
Oh God, he was. I've never seen him so mature. As far as, I mean, I'm not saying he was mature. I'm just saying about the game part. Mm-hmm. I've never seen him take it so seriously. It'd be so focused. It was very impressive.
Yeah. So for you, it seemed like you, at least until the end, were trying to play more of like an under the radar game. You know, you weren't really involved in a lot of the drama. So was that intentional on your part, that you were trying to just let CT be the face of your team?
Yeah, you know, being a part of the drama sometimes is a good thing. I mean, you have to assert yourself. You have to defend yourself. You have to confront people. All those things need to happen. But there gets to a point where it's too much. And CT was kind of already doing that. And so if I did it as well, then there would be too much of that. There would be too big of a bullseye on our back. So I decided to go way more under the radar and let him take over for any of the drama type of stuff.
Yeah. And you were able to reach the finals without having to, you know, do one elimination. Now, do you think that's kind of a flaw in the game, that you're allowed to kind of politic your way until the end without having to at least once be faced with having to win or go home?
Well, I have a two-part answer to that. First off, you know, I don't think it's a flaw in the game. I think that it's called the challenge because it challenges every aspect of your being. So mental, politics, physical, everything. And then the second part to the answer is we didn't have to politic. We won the last half of the challenges, which meant that for the last month and a half, you wouldn't even have the option to throw us in, even if the entire house wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then heading into the final, you guys obviously did great on day one. And then it seemed like, did you have any type of stress going into the next day? You just kind of slept on the yacht, right? Because it seemed like usually in the two-part finals, you'd be outside, you'd be on ice, but you guys were very comfortable before day two, right?
It was, yeah, we were probably 5 times more comfortable, if not more, on that boat than we were any night throughout the rest of the trip in the house. It was the most amazing boat ever. It was unreal. They fed us. We had the best food that we had in months. I had the best sleep I had in months. It was so relaxing. It was a really cool memory.
Mm-hmm. And then to start day two, even though you guys, you know, beat Johnny and Frank by a lot in day one, you both started at the same time for day two. So were you expecting some type of advantage for your performance in day one?
I was hoping for some type of advantage, but that's what happened to me in Rivals 1, was we were beating Johnny by 45 minutes and going into the game. and then they decided just to even the playing field and give us a 1-minute head start. And this one, we didn't get a 1-minute head start, which is already stupid enough. It was just straight up, okay, you guys are even again.
Right.
So, at the end of the day, there was nothing to complain about because we won. But if we had lost, yeah, that would have been really.
And then even more so to try to even the playing field. It seemed like all the people in front had to do all the legwork of opening like the gates and stuff like that. So did you think that was like a fair way to handle a final, making the people in the lead have to do all that type of work?
If you complain about it to the producers, they say they do not have any qualms about reminding you that this is not sport and this is not the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a television show, and that's why it's entertaining. And they make good points because there's sometimes the finals to just get away from second place, and so they've got to do little things to keep it close and keep it interesting, and it forces everyone to stay focused at all times. It's also good to know because if you are ever in second place, then you know that you're never actually ever out of the game.
Right.
Something that they didn't show, which I was really shocked over, was now first place have to do all those little things that had to open all individual games, but there was traps for first place. So you just keep running down the island, and like gigantic net would like fall from the sky and trap you like straight out of a movie. It was ridiculous, and that your partner would have to cut you out and everything, and they only had the ability to trap whoever was in first place. So for both genders. So Emily and Paula got booby trapped, and CT and I got booby trapped regularly on top of the little games that we had to go through.
Interesting. Okay. So started with phase one, just a simple little puzzle, as CT said, that we all did at restaurants. So that was pretty straightforward. And then phase two, it was like a math problem. So it seemed like you all kind of knew what to do with it. Did they give you the formula to solve for this? Because I felt like a lot of these people might not really know what to do.
I first, and then I told everybody what the Pythagorean Theorem was.
Mm-hmm.
He said the numbers were so big you couldn't do it in your head. You had to at least do some sort of chicken scratch, and there was just no way to write it down. So once we honestly just tried it for a while, realized that it just wasn't happening. If you had given me a piece of paper and a pencil, I think that 4 out of 5 of us would have been able to solve that thing really easily. It's just in the dirt with sticks and calculators, it was a little bit harder. But it was a chain reaction. After we got it, then Cook just copied us, and then we Cook, and then the guys copied and them. So I don't think anyone actually solved it.
Yeah. How long do you think you were trying to solve it before you just took a shot in the dark and happened to guess right?
That's a good question. I think it was somewhere in the 5-minute range.
Okay. All right. So then you get through that, and then phase 3, which seemed to be probably the worst thing you've ever gone through in your entire life with the eating. Now, it seems like sometimes as a viewer, we don't really get a full sense of what you guys go through. But for some reason, they wanted to just pound on the table how bad this was. Showing, I don't know how many times they showed you guys throw up. It was a little nauseating just watching it on our own. So just kind of take me back to how just excruciatingly awful that experience was in phase 3.
Yeah, no, I actually only got to watch it last night for the first time when I flew home from taping the reunion. So last night was a good reminder, but I was getting nauseous just watching it, and it had been months. I can't even describe it. It was horrible. It was definitely one of the worst things I've ever done, and there's no training for that. You can, no matter how crazy you are, no matter how good of an athlete you are, no matter how much you want it, there's just certain things that your body won't let you do, and that was one of them that my body was like, okay, you're going to need to slow down on this. We did all right, but we didn't do an A+, and we didn't get a D. It was very average of how we did on that.
And I have to imagine this was worse than what you went through in Rivals 1 with the eating, right?
I would say that it's even because this was substantially grosser, time I got up to that stage in Rivals 1, I was already starting to get really dehydrated, and I had already thrown up quite a bit. And so to then go into this, it was just too much. I was just sick as hell. So
yeah. So you finally get through that, and then you get to fourth phase, which was moving the bodies around. And it seemed like this is where Johnny and Frank kind of started nipping at your heels a little bit. They started to catch up. So did you realize how close they kind of got, or did they kind of exaggerate that?
Completely and utterly contrived.
Yeah?
We were probably 15 to 20 body bags ahead of them at any given point in time. Something they didn't show is we had to move all the bags from one side to the other, and then once we got the bags from one side to the other, then we got a note that said, now you got to move them all back to the original spots. So technically, and
so you really had to move it. You got to really move like 40 bags.
And it wasn't 20. The girls were 20. The guys were 30. So they did us a really big injustice. So we had to move 60 bags. So we were ahead by about 20, and 20 bags is about 45 minutes or so worth of work. It was a pretty long distance that you had to walk those things. And so, it was completely contrived. Because if you notice, if they were actually only 2 bags away from us, they didn't even get to the fifth location. And so
that seemed kind of confusing. That if they were so close, why were they not even like on your heels at all?
Because they weren't close. Because they weren't close at all. Something that wasn't shown was that they were lapped pretty much the entire game. So we had a complete island on them pretty much the entire time, and they got to make it look close, and I respect them for that. But it was a lot more of a murder than it looked.
How long was the run back usually from checkpoint to beginning? How long are those runs?
Oh, I don't remember per se, but I think it was somewhere in the 1.5 to 2.5 mile range.
Mhm. Okay. It was probably obviously really hot that day too, right? It seemed like it.
Oh, it was so hot. But I'll be honest with you, like running the heat obviously sucked. The thing that sucked the worst is running in sand. Anyone who runs in sand knows what I'm talking about. It's like it's miserable. Like I would have rather run twice the distance, but on pavement or grass, than run that distance in sand.
Yeah, exactly. So then the final stage would seem, I don't know what they were going with, but it seemed really easy. I mean, was it as easy as it's shown on TV, just digging a little hole and climbing through and grabbing the final idol?
It was definitely the easiest one for sure. I mean, there was more. Thank God there was a trap door of some sort there, but they really didn't emphasize how long it took to get to the trap door and how hard it was to get the trap door up, because it was really lodged in there. So it was, I don't know, it probably took 15 minutes, 20 minutes of digging to get the door open, but compared to everything else, that was the easiest one.
So how would you compare this final to some of the other ones that you've gone through in past years?
I would say, I mean, it was the easiest one that I've ever done, but I've done some of the notoriously hardest ones. I mean, Duel 1 was kind of unreal, and Rivals 1 will never be matched, and if it is, people are going to die. So, and then the Fresh Meat 1 was pretty bad too. So, I would say this is the easiest one, but it was by no stretch of the imagination easy.
Right. All right, so just now, kind of before I get to the reunion, I just want to kind of take a step back from the season. And I had to ask you about this one quote you made that was maybe the most controversial one of the season when you were arguing with Johnny Bananas. He asked you what you had, and you said, I have a BMW, a Porsche, a monster truck, and 30 companies. Now, first thing, do you have all those things?
Actually, there's one thing that's really embarrassing that I don't have. I don't have 30 companies.
30 companies?
No, 30 companies. I have, as of today, I'll have 50.
Oh, because that's through these beta blocks, right? Because actually I found that YouTube video, you giving the speech and stuff like that, how you invest in these companies, right? You invest in startups?
Yeah, so basically I own a school for startups, or I'm part owner in a school for startup. I've got some partners there, and we provide as part of like our school classes and mentor lectures and consultations and access to investors and web design and all sorts of things that are meant to help entrepreneurs get to later stages of business with with more ease and less money.
Okay.
And then in exchange, we take a percentage ownership of all of them, and we take 10 new ones every 3 months. And it's 3 to 6 months, depending upon how busy we are. And and as I'm actually in the car driving to sign numbers 40 through 50 today. So
have there been any things that people would know that you're a part of?
Not really. I mean, you could go to the website and check out some of the companies on their websites and read about them. And there's some cool success stories that are going on. But we're investing in some really early stage stuff, and it's been about a year and a half. It took about 4 years worth of raising funds and putting this whole puzzle piece together to get to this point. But we've been open for a year and a half now, so that means that all the companies we've invested in are only a year and a half old. So they're they're accomplishing things that this average company accomplishes in about a year and a half.
So that means
it's a large truck. It's not a monster truck.
Okay,
it's a large truck. Yeah, it's raised. It's got big tires. It's mean. It's murdered out. It's a lot of fun. I've gotten in probably more trouble in that vehicle than even the fast ones. But no, it's not. It's not a rollover little cars kind of truck.
Yeah, because that definitely stirred up some debate amongst everyone. It was like, wait, what does he do with this monster truck? What did I think? So, all right, had to ask that. So then also in that discussion, when you're going back and forth with Johnny, I was curious why you or CT never brought up the time when CT came back for elimination and he faced Johnny Bananas, and you carried him off like a backpack. You know, you're debating about what you guys done in the past, and I thought that would be one of the things that you would fire back when he brought up the Rivals 1 finale, that you would have brought that back up. Was that ever discussed?
Yeah, the thing about it is we were going for stuff that hurts the worst. And all Johnny has is my performance on one final where I got sick. That's all he's got. That's the only thing that he has to go for me on. And I think the fact that he's got a crappy life outside of this, he's got no career, he's got nothing going on for him, and that unless he wins the challenges, then he has no money, no income, no desire to do anything with his life. And so as much as he's had just as big competitive mistakes in the game as I have, if not debatably worse and more embarrassing, when he leaves this, he has to enter into a life that is just horrible. And when we first started this all out, then you can't really compare life because you're 20 years old, 21 years old. It's not as important. But after about a decade of doing this, what we do outside of this holds increasingly more and more importance as far as what kind of a human being you are. I'm 28 years old, and I've got a lot going on for myself, and I will continue to make a bunch of mistakes, and I will continue to learn, and I will hopefully be able to grow my business and do all sorts of awesome things, but at least I'm trying. And he's 31, 32, somewhere in that vicinity, and has absolutely nothing going on for him. And when it comes to that, that's what I'd rather bring up than some of his losses.
Okay. So one of the other big moments from the season was when Diem felt that CT kind of screwed her over when you guys voted in Emily and Paula. Now, obviously, though, you were involved in the decision-making process with that also. So what was your thought process before that elimination vote?
Yeah, there was a lot that wasn't shown, and for good reason. I mean, it was kind of controversial the way that it played out, but something that didn't make it was right after everything was kind of coming together on that day's challenge. She said, "I want the hardest team. I want Emily and Paula." I don't know whether or not she was saying that to kind of intimidate the others, and then assume that we knew that she was not telling the truth, but she basically. That's who she said that she wanted. And secondly, our alliance with everyone in the house was this, and it made it to where we were politically good because it was a believable alliance. We said, we won't vote for you, but you can't tell us who to vote for. And that's kind of like a compromise to where it was a bunch of half alliances, not like a few amount of whole alliances. Like if Paula and Johnny were hardcore alliances, for example, they had to do what each other wanted to do. They not only couldn't vote for each other, but they could also manipulate who got votes. And we just went around the house and told a bunch of people we wouldn't vote for them, and we didn't. And one of the people that DM told me to make that exact deal with was Camilla and Jimmy. She was like, you got to go to Camilla and Jimmy. You got to go offer up that you're not going to vote for them and so on and so forth. And so when I did that, she can't expect us to go back on it.
Yeah. So moving now to the reunion, the live reunion. First of all, did you like the fact that this was live, that not unedited, straightforward? What you see? What you get?
It made me extremely nervous. I have a lot of respect for the producers of both Buena Murray and MTV, and I just really respect what they do and how much work and time and effort goes into all this. And I know, so I'm nervous for them almost more than I am for us, because if something goes wrong, I mean, that's their career. They take that very seriously.
Yeah.
But I'm also really worried about some sort of slanderous comments, because, I mean, you could scream across to some person that you know nothing about that, they were raped by their father or something, and you could do nothing about it. Next thing you know, you're answering questions about your father raping you for years. So that's kind of why I feel bad for Frank is Frank had no control over the fact that he got hit. I mean, there was very, very little that he could have done, and in fact, probably nothing that he could have done to prevent that. And yet now his life is going to be centered around answering questions about how he got hit on national television for at least a couple of years, if not longer. Yep. And it just sucks that someone else has the ability to tattoo your life like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was actually at the reunion, the taping of it the other night, so it was kind of cool to see everyone's reaction, but, we couldn't really hear all the whispering on the cast on stage. So what was everyone saying after Knight did that to Frank and that was taken off? What was everyone's reaction?
Everyone's really mad at Knight. I mean, everyone. Even the people that are friends with Knight and love Knight and respect Knight are really mad at him, and it's just for a couple of reasons. One, if you're friends with him, you want the best. And let's pretend for a second that Frank deserved it, and I'm not saying he did or didn't, because I really don't care. It's not whether someone deserves to get punched. It's whether or not you're classy enough of a person to not hit them. And I've obviously made a lot of mistakes. I've gotten in a lot of fights over the years. I get passionate about the stuff, but I've never hit anyone. And I hopefully never will. And so I was just hoping more that Knight would be able to conduct himself as a better human being. But yeah, no. And the second reason why we're all pissed is it makes us all look bad. It's like guilt by association. We're all sharing that stage, and we all look like we deserve to be on Jerry Springer during that segment.
Yeah.
And I mean, we do enough things that are not good for our reputations, but just to add that into the mix makes it really hard to want to keep coming back. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. So I was actually hoping that Leroy was going to be there so you guys could kind of talk out what happened with you this season. So what was the deal with you and Leroy? Were you actually upset with him for hooking up with Teresa, or did the show kind of make more of that than what it was?
I was not upset with Leroy at all, like not even 1% about the Teresa thing. I think that he was so insecure about something, and I couldn't tell what, that it's like he was trying to pick up Teresa and using the ability to make fun of me and give me a hard time as like one of his ways to do it. Almost like, oh, Teresa, like this is how I'm going to fight for the girl, but I wasn't fighting for her. I was letting them have her. Like I didn't care. Teresa and I have an understanding, which is we made out drunkenly a couple of times, like 5 years ago, and now we don't want anything to do with each other. Not because we hate each other. It's just we don't get along, and we don't enjoy each other's company, and we don't even want to talk on the phone. We don't have each other's phone numbers. We don't follow each other on social media. We want nothing to do with each other.
Well, to be fair, you only follow one person on Twitter anyway, so that's not saying much.
Yeah, that's true, but I have a business Twitter account where I follow hundreds of people, and I have Facebook, and I have Instagram, and I follow the traditional amount on each one of those. And it's just, I just really don't want anything to do with, I wish her the best, which is just not, we just don't want each other in our lives. That being said, Leroy was just a dick about it. Like, if he wants the girl, go take the girl, right? And that's up to them too. but you don't have to make a voodoo doll about me, and you don't have to, start making up rumors and insulting me and just doing a bunch of stuff that is just completely unnecessary. It just sucks because, Leroy and I weren't the best of friends. We called each other on the regular or anything like that, but I definitely would have considered him a friend. And then out of nowhere, he just started being a dick, and it was straight up because he just chose the girl or the attention of getting the girl over just being a nice person.
Right. So if there was a Rivals 3, and you had to pick a partner to do it with, and your only two options were Johnny Bananas and Kenny Santucci, who would you pick?
Ooh. You know what? That's just like one of those really crappy questions. Like, if you're stuck on an island, what food would you like to eat for the rest of your life kind of a question.
Yep.
But honestly, I would say Johnny, but only because I've already worked with Kenny before, and I've already learned everything I can about myself and how to deal with a person like that I'd rather just have a different partner. But honestly, that one, neither one of those would be fun or enjoyable experiences.
Okay. All right, last thing. So I noticed you sent a tweet out about Dexter the other day, congratulating on the end of the series. I'm also a big fan. So did you like the finale, the way it ended? And spoiler alert for anyone listening who hasn't seen it yet, but did you like it?
Yeah, I did. I liked it. I liked it. I'm very well aware of how controversial the final was.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the fans were so into this show. I don't think I've ever seen fans that are bigger into Dexter than any other show.
Yeah, it was a huge fan base.
A very huge fan base, and if you were a fan, you're serious about this. Like, you were given legit arguments that would qualify you for the real world if producers ever saw you. But with that kind of passion, that I feel like the emotion of the show being over and everything was so much that there would have been a lot of haters no matter what.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I'm very okay with the final.
Okay. So is this going to be your last challenge? You're going to go out on top, retire with the title, or would you accept the phone call if it came your way again?
You know what? I would say I've got one more in me.
One
and
more?
I don't know what that means. Yeah, that could mean none because I'm stuff is just getting increasingly busy. I'm very spread thin, and leaving for a month and a half at a time is just really taking a toll on the people that support me in my real life, my girlfriend and my family who takes my dog and my business partners who take over for my responsibilities while I'm gone and all that. It's kind of not fair because they don't get to travel to New York and drink for free and get paid to go on national television and tell jokes and stuff. They just very begrudgingly take care of my stuff while I leave. It's just kind of not fair.
Would you hope it would be a duel? One more duel to go out on? You won that already. Would you want to do that one again?
I'm very proud of the duel, but I understand I deserve that. I understand I worked hard for it. I understand I was a great athlete. I understand that I did good on the puzzle, yada, 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 yada. But I'm also just as aware of how much luck was involved in winning the duel. It's kind of like a professional poker player that wins the World Series. It's you got to pat yourself on the back, but you don't lie to yourself and say that you're like this, majestic poker player just because you were able to work well with the cards that you had. And so if I ever did it again, I'd want to win, and math says that I wouldn't win the duel, and you'd have to be in shape. I haven't worked out in 2.5 years, going on 3.
I was going to say, because you definitely looked a lot smaller this season than some of your past times.
I'm not only smaller, I haven't lifted weights, I haven't even ran. And so I ran on the show to get ready for the final, but nothing like crazy. But no, I don't have time to lift anymore. And people are like, oh, you can lift after work like everyone else. I'm like, you know what? Well, my job's harder than everyone else. I get up earlier, I stay later, and I have to use my brain more, and I work 6 or 7 days a week. And so working out just didn't take a priority in preparation of the last several, and people are like, oh man, how can you lose that much weight that quick? And I'm like, it wasn't that quick. It was very slow over the course of the last 3 years, and even then it's not even completely all gone. But
right.
I did another one, I would probably prepare a little bit more.
Okay. All right. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. It was great talking to you. Where can people find you on all the social media outlets that you're on?
You know what? I think it's Twitter at WesMTV, and my Instagram is Weston Bergman. So just go find me on any of that stuff.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you again, man. Congratulations, Rival 2 champion. Well done.
All right. Thanks, man. Bye.
Bye. There it is. The 18th edition of the Bus Drivers Route podcast is in the books. Hope you enjoyed my discussion with Wes, and I hope you enjoyed all my coverage throughout the season of Rivals 2. This is a very exciting season. I thought it was definitely better than the last season of Battle of the Seasons. Now, I don't know if it was one of the best ones in a while, but it was still definitely very enjoyable. So before I wrap things up for today, let me once again remind you to follow me on Twitter, @BusDriversRoute. Go to busdriversroute.com and subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, that'll do it for me. So until next time, have a good one.